I remember a time right before this where quarterbacks would get folded.
Yep.
I mean, and it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You never see a flag. Unless it's while they're throwing it, you don't see a flag. If you hit them, if they're getting sacked, they can be sacked in the most vicious way possible. And it was fair game. Now, do I think that was something that should have that needed adjusting? Yes, because at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of times that quarterback is in a vulnerable position when he begins to be sacked. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely do a ton of damage if you want to as a big, 300-pound, 280-pound defensive end. And, you would see that. So I didn't have a big issue with that being something that became a little bit of a point of emphasis. But it's become it's a huge overreaction now because you've seen injuries to quarterbacks. And that's what the NFL does. When quarterbacks start getting hurt, they start overprotecting them. And that's where we're at right now.
So in your career, do you have a favorite block and a favorite moment in any game of your career?
Favorite block was against the Houston Texans. This was, 2009, I believe. And this was me when I picked up D'Amico Ryan in the safety and tossed him in the end zone as we ran in to win the game with Maurice Jones-Drew on a power play. They replayed that like 10 times. I hit the linebacker and the safety at the same time, threw the linebacker and the safety into the ground. Running back goes jogging right by. We win the game off that. And then favorite moment, I would say, I loved our first year when we went to the playoffs, my rookie year. I thought that was such an awesome introduction to the NFL for me because it was like, yo, all we're doing is winning. I'm like, this is going to be easy. This is going to be great. We're going to love this. We're going to get a championship, surely. We're a great team. Mm-hmm. Didn't get back to the playoffs again. But I will say that my favorite moment, the funnest moment, singular moment in my career was the Hail Mary pass.
Yeah, I remember that pass. I remember that.
Was such an because we kind of called it before the play happened. We're in the huddle. I'm like, man, I feel like nobody here wants to go to overtime, and they're like, hell no, we don't. We trying to get out of here. I said, okay, and then we're like, yeah, we're like, we can get this. We can get this touchdown. We can get this score. We can get it. Okay, yeah, let's go. And we broke the huddle. Dave got time to pass. He put up a ball, and really the defense did what they were supposed to do. Just it was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Smacked the ball down. The DB smacked the ball right into Mike Thomas's hands, and we won that game. And that was the first time I've ever seen a Hail Mary work. I was like, wow, So that was probably the most exciting moment. As a player, just seeing something like that happen, it was really cool.
The original Mike Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I actually like Mike Thomas.
Yeah.
I followed him when he played in the NFL, and he had some pretty good years when he played and when he was healthy.
Yeah.
When he was healthy, because he fought so many injuries, and players don't last that long. Offensive linemen do. Believe it or not, there are quite a few offensive linemen. You look at Jabrickashaw Ferguson. Jabrickashaw Ferguson had 9 years in the NFL, and then he retires at the age of 30 because of the whole CTE. And that's what I want to get into with you. Yeah, I really wanted to get into conversation with you about that. We've interviewed a lot of ex-NFL players, and a lot of them have talked about the CTE situation that the NFL mishandled. They really mishandled this when the stories were coming out. What were your thoughts when you saw the movie Concussions, when you knew about the story and what the NFL was trying to bury and really bury it under the rug because they didn't want to pay for their mistakes when this story came out? What were your thoughts to the CTE situation?
I mean, look, man, it's a threat. It's a threat. It's a threat to the game of football, and that's why the NFL tried to bury it. It's because if there's not football is a institution of America. Mm-hmm. It's not even just a product. It's an institution. It's a pillar of our economy as well. And you feel like the NFL is too big to fail, but there's one thing that can bring the NFL to its knees and finish it if it gets to that point, and that's CTE. CTE is the biggest existential threat to the NFL. As a business, as a culture, to our own society, that's the biggest threat to the sport. And, that is the only thing that can stop a multi-billion-dollar machine dead in its tracks if it comes down to it. because football is an inherently dangerous sport. But also, as we've learned, this degenerative brain disease that is CTE is pretty much a guarantee for anybody who plays football. And it doesn't matter what level you played at. If you play, and that's one of the things that, in hindsight, for me, I'm so glad my parents didn't let me play when I was young, because those ones get it the worst. I think those are the worst cases, are the people who play from youth, from Pop Warner all the way up into high school, and they're finding high school players with severe CTE now.
Aaron Hernandez,
kids who've committed suicide from CTE symptoms being a huge factor in that. These are high schoolers, not even like college players.
Right.
So it's a threat, and it's a serious threat. It's not a threat just to football, because soccer is dealing with it as well. Soccer is dealing with it. Boxing has been dealing with it. They just call it being punch drunk, but it really was CTE. And Dr. Bennett Amalu, he's the one who discovered CTE. Dude's, he's Nigerian heritage, same as me. And, this dude has 12 PhDs, and he's the one who put it to the NFL and said, hey, look, this is what's happening with y'all's players. And the NFL tried to bury him for it. And, the science was there. It's being shown. Now you have, in most recent times, Boston University has become kind of the center of the CTE study in the U.S. I'm actually going to be a part of a Johns Hopkins study that's going to be looking at the brain after football and seeing if there's any point where the brain begins to heal.
Good for you.
And that's something that they've been in touch with me over the last week to kind of get started into their study. But I do really take very serious that issue of CTE, because I know guys who are gone because of the CTE and some of the symptoms that it brought into their lives, and these are guys that meant a lot to me, and they're no longer here because of, in part, of the effects from the game itself. So I feel like there is kind of a obligation as a former player to at least educate yourself about it, because there are things about you that are going to change and you're not going to know why. And, a lot of guys went through that and spiraled from that. And it became known that they were dealing with, degenerative brain disease that was affecting their personality, not even just their behavior, but their entire personality. So, it's something that I wish the NFL would handle more transparently, because there's a lot of things that they don't tell you, you'll never hear about. But us as former players, we deal with it. We see how they kind of play these games, how they try to manipulate the system based on, their desire to avoid paying more money than they really want to, because they don't want to pay money for the guys who aren't playing anymore. That's the thing. That's where it becomes an issue, and the NFLPA needs to step up as well, because the NFLPA is getting paid by the NFL. They get paid by the NFL, so they're willing to cut corners sometimes.
Right.
And we see that, us former players, we see it, and we're and our minds are blown when the CBAs are negotiated, and they're not negotiating for better stuff for retired players, because you're going to be retired players soon enough.
Right.
And you're going to need that shit. And it's something that I'm a huge advocate for it, because they owe us. Right. They owe us
100%.
Just we helped build this game, and I would argue that even in my time as a player, that era was an era that propelled the NFL to becoming the pastime of America. From 2007 to 2015, the NFL saw substantial growth like it's never seen. Even up to this point, it hadn't seen that growth that it had in those times, because that's what propelled it to be the mainstream sporting product of America. And now it's even becoming an international sport.
100%.
The NFL is about to start an international division. So you're going to have 4 new teams in the NFL that are only in international in an international division outside of the U.S. That's coming in the next 5-10 years. That'll be here. So the people who set that stage, who set that path, put the league on that path, who are the players? The players before anybody, I would say. Fuck the owners, all that. It's the players who set that path. I would say they need to be taken care of. And it's not just me. It's going to be for guys like Patrick Mahomes in 5-10 years. He's going to be retired. You know what I mean? He's going to need to have those benefits. You know, Josh Allen, this is another guy, 10 more years probably as a player. He's going to be needing those benefits. You know, every era of players becomes former players. Mm-hmm. So they're going to need to be taken care of. And the NFL will turn their eye. They will turn a blind eye. The moment you sign those papers saying you're retired, they'll be out. You won't hear from them ever again if you let them get away with that. You know, and a lot of players are very educated on it now, and they make sure that they take care of signing up for their line of duty benefits, their permanent and total their P&T benefits, their get their accredited seasons correctly accounted for, pension, post career insurance, which only lasts 5 years,
right?
Which is utter nonsense.
Everything is nonsense. Everything is nonsense. You know, let me tell you something, Uche. Every single ex-NFL player, NFL player we've interviewed, I have backed them up 100% on the CTE situation. The stories and the crap that the NFL tried to push under the rug, Roger Goodell should be ashamed of himself. He really should, because you're right. You guys were the face of the game. You're the one who transitioned the game. And the fact that the NFL turned their backs on the players that retired once they signed that sheet. Taba Ali, we had him on the show. And Taba did not want to.
Taba Ali, yeah. We're the same generation. Yeah. I played against him in college.
And I became I became very close with Taba Ali, and I brought this same conversation up to him, and he didn't say it. He didn't want to throw the NFL under the bus. He did not want to do that. But he said the NFL should be taking care of the players. The players are what made this a national globe and made the game nationally,
it made it the pastime. Yes, it's the pastime. It was baseball. Yeah. But now it's football. We own Sunday. We own the weekend. Thursday to Saturday.
You own sports. What are you talking about Sunday? Yeah. You own the sports world. I mean, the NFL is the fastest growing billion-dollar organization in professional sports. They are. They are everything. Now it's becoming international, like you said. There are going to be international teams. A matter of fact, in England, they're selling out 80,000, 85,000, state 85,000 people.
Wembley is packed every year. I remember we were the first, I think the first or the second year of the international series. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was awesome. Not gonna lie. Playing in London was awesome. Like, that was an amazing experience. And I have family out there. So, I was able to, be out there and know people and have, people I could link up with. But it was an amazing situation. The NFL has made a lot of right moves in the marketing of the product of football, no doubt. But behind that, you got to take care of the people who really
100%
are the catalyst for the success, and that's the players. Did nobody come to see the owners or the coaches? Nobody's wearing coaches' jerseys.
100%.
Nobody's wearing coaches' headsets out there. It's the players they come for. So make sure that on the back end. I look at the NBA. My cousin was a top 10 pick in the NBA draft when I was playing. Ike Diagu.
Oh, I know Ike.
He came from Arizona State. Mm-hmm. 6th overall pick in 2006 to the Golden State Warriors. Mm-hmm. And I actually ran into Ike. I ran into him. This is the first time I've seen him probably in like 3 or 4 years at a wedding a month back. And me and him were just talking, and this dude is NBA is still paying for everything.
Yep.
And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man, NBA take care of us. This is a guy who played like maybe 4 or 5 years in the NBA. He was a tweener who was just a couple years too early before the tweener period of the NBA started, where guys, where power forwards could play at the 3-point line. He was that guy right before it happened. So he was just maybe a year or two early as a player to miss that transition to the next generation of power forwards. But, the NBA is taking care of these guys. And he's been retired for longer than I've been retired.
Right.
And he's good. He still plays. He plays, internationally for Nigeria on the national team. But there's a completely different level of care for them compared to a sport in the NFL that is, while the NBA is popular and it's big, the NFL is the most popular.